That was fun. Hi, my name is Chayla Sloper. I'm the Congregational Life Facilitator, and I have today's announcements. I want to welcome those who are on Zoom, and if this is your first time on Zoom, we have a virtual visitor form you can fill out, or if you'd like to sign up for our communications. And for those who are visiting here today, here in the sanctuary, the same welcome extends to you and to all. And if you would also like to know more about our congregation, do sign up for the ACE, the All Congregation email. That's the best way to stay on top of what's happening now. And I hope that everyone who is here will join us for coffee after the service. So there are a couple of really exciting, spontaneous volunteer things that have happened. Number one, given that we have a lot of people who get the invitation to come on Sundays, our parking lot gets a little congested. And this morning, Nancy Hodge volunteered to valet for somebody who needed to park, would have parked closer, but the mobility challenged places all get filled. And so a valet, isn't that a good idea? So tell your friends if they're not coming because of parking issues. I think we're going to institute this and have somebody park cars just farther away in the parking lot. And then I just want to give thanks for a certain volunteer, John Pritchard, who returned to UUFCO after years of being gone. He's in the kitchen right now, and last week he literally cleaned the dishwasher because it had said, "I'm not going to do anything more until I'm cleaned." And so a friend of the congregation who knew how to do this stepped right in. And I just want to say that that's such a spirit of paying attention and being able to step in to do something that needs done, as we say in America. So, absolutely. He's got a long ponytail. Bombard him with thanks after the service. Okay, I want to remind those who are interested in Soul Matters groups, they're going to be starting at the end of the month. Today I will send out another invitation or reminder. The Monday night Zoom option has been filled, so there are still 2 Zoom options and 2 in-person options. And like I say, if you're thinking about joining a group and haven't done that yet, please look for the email today and sign up for one of the Soul Matters groups. So, breaking news, our XYZ group, Gen X, Millennials, Y and Z, Julie Montoya invites you for this Thursday night on the 19th for a trivia night at Bridge 99. She's in the back. You can, if you want to see who to talk to after the service, she's waving her happy arm. And so she'll need RSVPs because they make trivia teams. And so this is a real fun opportunity to hang out and show how smart you are. Next Saturday, we have a Women's Connections Fair. And this is basically kind of a show and tell and an introduction to all the exciting things that are going to be happening in Women's Connections this coming year. And in fact, one of the monthly groups that Noreen Halberstadt is going to be resuming after many years hiatus. You'll learn about that. We'll have information about the gathering in October. And other groups, there are book-related groups and really exciting things. So you're invited at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. It's just going to be about an hour. So just to hear what's going on with the Women's Connections that is coming up. I do want to give a shout out to the Women's Connections steering team that guided Women's Connections for the last 6 years at least. Donna Dobkin, Carolyn Tate, Mari Brennan, Carolyn Brooks, Diane Peterzak was on it for a while, Catherine Smith was on it for a while, Nancy Tyler. There have been so many who have collaborated for our women's activities. So we have, yes. We have a new team coming in, and I just am thrilled. I'm so excited. So our annual auction is going to be over the weekend of October 18 through 20. And the kickoff is going to be a gathering with entertainment and things to eat supported by our fun team. So that's on Friday the 18th. Now, if you're newer to UUFCO and don't know how to donate an item or you might feel shy about the auction, please come. Just check it out and see what you might want to bring or enjoy with others. There are pies baked. I bake pies. Jewelry, there are weekends away, there are dinners that are cooked by some of our really talented chefs. So please just be thinking about what you'd like to donate and pick up one of these sheets. There is going to be a table in the gathering hall today. Two more things. So we're looking for registrations for the UU Climate Revival. This is going to be on the weekend of September 28 and 29, but we really want you to be thinking about devoting some time on the Saturday and Sunday afternoon of that weekend. So this is looking at moving past an extractive world towards something sustainable, and so really within the spirit of Unitarian Universalism and our love for the earth, and trying to answer how can we respond to this crisis. That will be the 28th and 29th. Our congregation will be participating with many around the country, and so it'll be a really exciting time. And so the registration is in the ACE. Lastly, the Art Resources team is looking for donations for their next show. The deadline is today, and that's called Something to Celebrate. And then again, remember that there's going to be an art show that you can show your art or sell your art, and that'll be later in November, but be thinking about that too. Okay, big breath. Blessings on your day.
That was a decent amount of invitations, and that wasn't even all the stuff that's going on. So consider yourself invited into the life of this congregation. What else could we invite you into this morning? What if I was to say, I could invite you into an opportunity to make magic, to make resources turn into values in community? What if I gave you the opportunity, the invitation to practice generosity? What if I gave you the invitation to the morning offering? Wouldn't that be something? Our ushers will now make good on that invitation.
There we go. Got it. Invite me to learn how the mic works. Okay. In the spirit of invitation, we're going to invite you to join us and listen and explore as we come and see a world of pure imagination.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world? If you want to see magic lands, close your eyes and you will see one. Want to be a dreamer, be one. Anytime you please, just say be one. There is no place I go to compare with your imagination. So go there to be free if you truly wish to be.
This congregation shares its joys. All right, we're going to figure these mics out this morning. I invite your patience. This congregation shares our joys and our sorrows and our gratitudes each week because we are a community. And this is one of the ways that we share our lives with each other. If there's a joy or a sorrow in your own heart that you'd like to light a candle for, please feel free to do so. Those are on the sides of the sanctuary. And I'm going to read our written joys and sorrows, and these are located in our kiosk every Sunday morning. If you have a joy or sorrow you'd like to share with the congregation, please just fill it out and give it to an usher. All right, Mari Brennan shares, she's sending love and support to our dear friend Shanda as she goes into surgery tomorrow. Best healing hugs and love to you, Shanda. Our thoughts are with Shanda indeed. Joel Pitney shares a joy. We are celebrating Laura's birthday this weekend. I'm grateful for her as a consistent source of inspiration, love, and support. Yeah. I just heard someone go, "Aw, that's beautiful." Yeah, that is beautiful. Stephen and Amy Foster Wexler, we share the joy that number 2 has flown the coop and enjoying first weeks at Reed College, feeling grateful that the beginnings are feeling good. That's Marley there, one of our youth who has now flown the coop and headed off to Reed College in Portland. We know there are joys and sorrows and gratitudes not shared out loud, but that exist within our heart, within each and every one of us, and consider those held by the love of this community. I'll invite you to take a deep breath, to begin to center your body, calm your mind. Remember that you have a body, that you've been in it all morning long, whether you've noticed it or not. You've had a breath coming in and out of your being all morning, whether you slowed down enough to realize it or not. That you have a life vitality inside you, humming, here and now, whether you even noticed it or not. I'll invite these spoken words of meditation by Sandra Fees, followed by a time of shared and commingled silence that we create together. Cosmic presence, ignite me with your energy. Let me be filled with the radiance of suns and stars, rising along a morning's rim and setting in evening's cool. May I be sparked with curiosity to greet whatever may come and accept whatever may go at the end of day. Let me not slip into the routine of the day or be consumed by the mundane that happens each and every day. but instead, may I be alive. May I be surprised by the lavish blaze of creation, so that my spirit may catch fire and be reawakened to delight. May I be curious to the possibility of what is not yet, but what could be. May my heart be open wide, so that I do not miss life, but invite it in to fill me and to enliven me.
I'm going to share with you a poem by Uriah Mountain Dreamer. It's called The Invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longings. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals or have become shriveled and closed from fear of future pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, or if you can dance with the wilderness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint one another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not a pretty day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments.
This next song is called Heart Wide Open. Ro and Jack will sing it through for you one time, and then I'd like everybody to join in, please. And this is by Leah Morris, a contemporary composer, and I'm sure we'll be singing more of her songs in the future. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Keep your heart wide open for the waves to push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open for the faith brings you back to solid ground. Keep
Your heart
wide open for the waves want to push
you
you around.
Keep your heart wide open.
You gotta keep your heart wide open
Until your faith, until your faith.
brings you back to solid ground. Keep your heart
You gotta keep
wide open.
You gotta keep your heart wide open until the saints
Wanna push
wanna push you
you
around.
around.
Till the saints wanna push you around.
Gotta keep your heart
I'm gonna keep
wide
I'm gonna keep my heart wide open until the faith
brings you back
brings me back to
solid ground.
brings me faith brings me back to solid ground.
Keep your heart
I'm gonna keep
wide
I'm gonna keep my heart wide open where the weights
wanna push
you
around.
I know the weights wanna push you around.
Gotta keep
Gonna keep
your
I'm
heart
gonna keep
wide
I'm gonna keep my heart wide
till your faith
until the faith
brings you back
comes back
solid ground.
until my faith brings me back to solid ground. Keep your heart. I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till the weights
Try to
want to push you. Although the weights want to push me around, I'm gonna keep
your
I'm
heart
gonna keep my heart wide open until my faith brings me back to solid ground. Until my faith brings me back to solid ground.
All right. So, oftentimes, not often as I'd like, but on a good morning, we'll say, on a good morning, I'll find myself running on the Deschutes River Trail. And I'm always fascinated by this small interaction that happens as I'm passing other runners or walkers. Have you ever walked on a trail here, or a sidewalk even, here in Bend? And then there's this thing that happens between you and the other person. And I never quite know what it's going to be depending on the person. And so when you're running, there's lots of different versions of it. There is the clear, straight-ahead stare that you get. And you see this person, and you realize, oh, they're not going to look at me at all. OK, don't bother looking at them, because it's just head down. OK. There's the look down. I'm not going to look up. OK, there's that one. There is the gentle nod. There's the just a slight acknowledgement. There's the nod with the hello. There's the yeah, hello. Serious still. There's the nod with a hello and a smile. And that's when things start to break open a little bit. You're running along, and you kind of look over, and they go, hi, good morning. Yeah. And that feels good. And then there's the stop running, and hi, good morning. How are you? Good to see you. Would you like to talk? Now, that one's less common. That doesn't happen very often. Because each of them is kind of a negotiation, right? Depending on that person, their personality, their mood that morning. And what I find myself doing is I'll be running, and I just kind of sneak my eyes over to see which one of those I'm going to get. And then once I get the little clues, and then I greet them with a similar greeting that they're offering me. And in that way, on my morning run, I have maybe 6 or 7 small interactions of different varying connection points just on this run. This human connection, it seems small, but the straight-ahead runner feels very different than the good morning. The good morning lifts me up a little bit. Isn't that strange? This stranger on the path, and they smile a little bit, their eyes widen, they say, good morning, I'm glad to be alive, I'm glad you're alive too, and it feels good. So in this way, before I even get back to my house, I've had 7 encounters with different humans of different points of connection, of different points of invitation into their life or not. And sometimes I might be a straight-ahead runner if I'm, tired or don't feel like connecting to another person, and that's okay too. A negotiated invitation on my morning run. And then this continues throughout the day. As I pass people on the streets, as I pass people in a building, as I check out at the grocery clerk, negotiated points of connection. And in fact, it happens all through our day on even a larger scale. We're being invited into all kinds of things. If you watch TV or read magazines, all those commercials are inviting you to something, to buy their product, to enhance your life, to fulfill it with the thing you're missing, their product. Or it is that season, we are all being invited by 2 particular different parties to join in and vote. Constant invitations. We're invited throughout our day by people we know and by people we don't. It's interesting, these constant invitations that we are offered. It makes me remember that I'm also continually throughout my day offering invitations to human connection or not. A simple hello is our acknowledgement of another person, another human life passing by and sharing this strange, weird, wonderful, difficult thing called existence. It's our way of paying attention if we choose. I mentioned the grocery clerk. I used to work at Whole Foods years and years ago on the front end. And I would check people's groceries out for hours and hours on end. And what I found was it was a day of little bitty micro connections. And each time a new person would come up, I would offer them an invitation because after a couple hours, it gets a little boring. And so you begin to rely on those people coming through for entertainment for your day. And so I offer a small invitation, something like, how's your day going? Or how have you been today? Or this looks like some fantastic food. And then they would either take me up on my invitation or not, which is fine because sometimes I feel like chatting with the grocery clerk, and sometimes I don't, and that's okay too. But throughout the day, lots of conversations about weather, Lots of conversations about what they were doing later in the day, or what they had done in the day, or what they were purchasing, or how they were excited about the broccolini. All these little conversations, appropriate points of connection for a relationship that was not deep, but was altogether at once human. What I would find is at the end of the day, I would feel drained and tired. But at the end of the day, I would go back and I would think about all those little connections, all those little stories I heard, all those little moments of life that were shared with me. And that was their receipt and making good on a small invitation that I had made. The alternative to not inviting the world around us or paying attention is to remain isolated, at least in that moment. And sometimes solitude can feel good and right, and that is okay, and sometimes to be cherished. But we all need connection as humans. That's something we know. We all desire and long to be loved and to love. Maybe not romantic love necessarily, but just to use our hearts, to have them be wide open, to have them received, and to perhaps on a good day fill up the heart of somebody else. And each time we do this, there's a risk. To pay attention to the other, to the stranger, is to risk moving out of the confines of ourself. That self that's comfortable and safe, that comfort zone that allows us to just be internal. And there's layers and layers and layers of relationship. There's the simple hello, and then those people in our life that we're deep with, that we can go deep with, that know us sometimes perhaps better than we know ourselves, and all points of relationship in between. Uriah Mountain Dreamer's invitation was one of those deeper invitations. It suggests a way of relating that is honest and authentic, that clears away the veil of what is in between us. All relationships have a degree of intimacy and intentionality. And so we invite others in, sometimes in a deep way, and sometimes in a soft way. And a problem can arise if the degree of intimacy is different than the other one is assuming. I have a friend, a dear friend, that I've explored life with for sure. But every time I see this person, the first thing they say is, "How was it with your soul?" And I think to myself, we'll get there. Can we just warm up first? Can we say hi? Can we talk about the weather? How your trip was? It's a mismatch of where I am and where this person is. And we get there in time. It might feel a bit off if in that checkout line, instead of inquiring about the weather, I were to take Uriah Mountain Dreamer's advice and say, "I want to know, boop, if you can disappoint another and be true to yourself, boop, and if you can bear the accusation, boop, of betrayal and not betray your own, boop, soul. And would you like paper or plastic with that?" No, there is like an appropriateness, a reading the room, so to speak. And these take thoughtfulness. They take awareness. They take a sensitivity. There are three main things we do here in this fellowship, in this community. We come together to live out our values and do good works in the world through social justice and outreach. We explore our spirituality in our own lives, and we do that in community with each other, so a spiritual search and journey. And lastly, we create a space here where we can deepen relationships, where we can practice imperfectly the idea of meeting another person and being curious about who they are. We can create a fellowship bound together by our values. And this last one is so important. We create a community in our coming together. Human life reaches out for intimacy. And that's the work we do here at all kinds of different levels. And it's important work. It's life-saving work sometimes. It's spiritual work because it connects us to other human life, other human experience. And in doing so, it connects us to that greater whole of which we are all a part. Kurt Vonnegut, the science fiction writer, wrote, and Unitarian, wrote, when asked, what should young people do with their lives? He responded by saying, what young people should do with their lives today? Well, many things, obviously. But the most daring thing is to create stable communities in which the terrible disease of loneliness can be cured. The kind of relationships that Uriah Mountain Dreamer writes about in The Invitation sound intense, right? When Chandra's reading that, that's a lot. To enter into a relationship with someone who wants to clear away all that stuff and get to the raw, authentic part underneath. But it sounds attractive to me. These kind of relationships don't happen over time, but they are created in time, over shared experience, shared work, through living life together, through building trust together. And this is not always easy. It requires of us something difficult, vulnerability. Sometimes people will come to this fellowship, and maybe it doesn't happen soon enough or quick enough for them. Perhaps they weren't able to open up to the possibility of the kindness here. Or maybe on a particular Sunday, they weren't offered that kindness here at coffee hour. It is to be vulnerable and sometimes to have patience. I've got a tip for you about coffee hour. Everybody's a little anxious. Everybody's a little insecure. Everybody would probably be okay if you came up and said hello to them. Everybody would probably be okay if you were to receive them saying hello to you. Do we have a slide here? No, we don't have a slide. Okay. There was a wonderful bumper sticker, half peeled off, when I was in the Philippines visiting UU congregations there. I'm out in the middle of nowhere in this tiny concrete floored church. And this bumper sticker on their pulpit, right there, says, the most radical thing you can do is introduce people to each other. The most radical thing you can do is introduce people to each other. Now, why would that be? It's because when people meet one another, things can happen. Life finds new ways of expressing itself. We say all are welcome on our bench outside, but that doesn't mean it happens automatically. It takes intention to know one another, to introduce people to each other. The poem lists all kinds of things that prevent invitation that she's talking about. Being concerned with what you do for a living, how old you are, your astrological charts, how much money you have, who you know, where you studied, all these things, they're not as important as showing up for one another. This sounds a bit like our welcome here each week. And none of these questions is wrong in and of themselves. They have to do with our identity and who we are. We think about them, and to suggest we didn't would be in earnest. But this is why I love congregational life so much. It's just because the answer to those questions is so far-flung. How else, I wonder, would you get to know all these people? All these people so different from you, with different life experiences. There are places and relationships you probably have here in Bend in Central Oregon where you butt up right next to people who are just like you. And it feels good, doesn't it? It's good to feel understood. It's good to feel in sympathy with somebody and their life story and where they are. But here, we wouldn't get to know each other unless we arrived here, open. And it's just plain fun, and it's just plain fascinating, being curious about all the different lives that join us here. Colleagues have asked me about the success of this congregation, and I often glibly remark, well, they are kind people who want to do good work and have fun while doing it. And it's true, there's a kindness here. There's a Miller Williams poem, The Ways We Touch It. And it says, have compassion for everyone you meet, even if they don't want it. What appears conceit, cynicism, bad manners, is always a sign of things no ears have heard, no eyes have seen. You do not know what wars are going on down there where the spirit meets the bone. Moments of kindness and openness are little invitations to others into our shared humanity. When we offer our claiming your own theology class, which we'll be offering this fall, I'm always taken that people don't consider kindness as a deep theology. It's not a complicated theology, but it's theology. Make no mistake about it. There's so much to know about what some people call God to be found in the act of kindness to other people. It's constructive, it's generative, it's enlivening, it's healing, it's connecting. It makes those who are alive live and feel better. What we need from one another can be summarized in this poem, The Invitation, by Mountain Dreamer. It's what I long for. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or yours, without moving to hide it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, if you can see beauty, if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure. I want to know what sustains you, and if you can be alone by yourself. I want to know if you are there and open. Or as the house band sung, I want to know if you can keep your heart wide open. The invitation is a reminder that so much of the meaning of life is sharing in the part and parcel of our days. It's here that we continue to live our lives in the individual moments, to dig in and look more closely at what's going on around us and who is around us. I mentioned that invitation comes with risk, and it can be scary, and there are moments of vulnerability. It's putting ourselves out there. What if it doesn't work? What if I invite somebody and they say no? What if no one shows up? And they might not. And all invitations shouldn't be accepted. I hope you do decline some invitations at some point as you're being invited. To not do so would be bad boundaries, I would say. At its core, this idea of invitation pushes us up against something that I feel called anxiety. Anxiety. Anxiety touches something deep within us. It's because it has to do with connection and disconnection. And disconnection reminds us of that existential void that we are a part of. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard talked about how anxiety is a response to the limitless possibilities, the limitless invitations that exist around us and our place within it. He wrote that it's our basic human emotion that arises out of one's being. Anxiety as a response to life. It touches our sense of nothingness. But anxiety, moving into it and through it, is a way to find what the theologian Paul Tillich called the courage to be. Kierkegaard considered anxiety to be an uplifting and redeeming power that draws us closer to God, in his language. The anxiety we are confronted with, in the anxiety we are confronted with our limits that point to where we would then take a leap of faith. We do not know what comes next, and so we leap, and in doing so, the anxiety recedes. The anxiety recedes in the leap of faith. Now, calling anxiety an uplifting and redeeming power is a positive spin on anxiety, to be sure. But what he says, going through that moment that would have us stop, that would have us disconnect into connection, that is what he says, calls us closer to God. You might say calls us closer to each other, calls us closer to our connection with life. And so we find ourselves here in this fellowship
that could be our spiritual training ground, where we can offer invitations to one another, where we can accept them, where we can decline them, where we can practice having them declined, where we can stretch ourselves morally and ethically, where we can practice kindness and hospitality, and be a part of the life-giving results. This is a place where literally you can go up and just say hello to somebody and not feel awkward or weird about it. Meet someone new. Bell Hooks, the African-American writer, wrote, "Love is the extension of the self for the sake of the other." These words, love and kindness, sensitivity and vulnerability, they're all a part of what we share here, our shared theology. And they must be nurtured and practiced to have life. To practice love, yes, is to risk, but to live love is to truly live, is to enlarge ourselves as we care for another. And so you, I hope, have a card in your seat that you were offered when you came in with a pencil. Imagine if you could write an invitation to anyone, to someone specific, to someone you haven't met yet, to do anything, to have a conversation, to share a hug, to go for coffee, for a high five, anything. But you have the power to create an invitation. Sometimes they show up like that, very neat and ordered, with the to, who, the where, the when, the why, the date, and an RSVP. This one is open. And so I invite you sometime during the rest of our service to write down an invitation that you would like to offer someone in the world. Or maybe it's an invitation to yourself to open your heart wide, or to do something in your life that would connect you to others. What power there is in an invitation. Yes, risk. Yes, vulnerability. There is no guarantee that all invitations will be accepted, as it should be. But to invite another person into a human reaction, into a human interaction, is a profound thing that speaks to our deep connection and need. So have compassion for everyone you meet, said the poet. You don't know what wars are going down there where the spirit meets the bone. May we move into each and every day, aware of the invitations being offered to us, and aware of our magnificent power and ability to invite the world around us in, to receive it with our open heart, our heart wide open. May it be so.
Do we have a lyric slide for this? I'm pretty sure everybody knows this song. It's an invitation to the sun, and please do sing along.
Here comes the sun. Go ahead and rise and bow to your spirit as we close our service.
Little darling, it's been a long, long, lonely winter. Little darling, it's been a year since it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I said, it's alright, do-do-do-do.
invite all of you to coffee hour after our service, and we invite you to say hello to somebody new during that coffee hour time. And before we do, let's say together the covenant of this fellowship, our promise and hopes for how it is we live out our life together. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Found this on the pulpit as well. It's addressed to all the people, so I guess that's all of us. Let's see what it says here. Oh, it's an invitation. You probably figured that. It says, to you, you are cordially invited to this day, to all its possibility, to wondering, to the sun above, and in time, the moon above as well. Be patient and wait, for here comes the sun, it will arrive again. You are invited into this very day. Signed, the universe. Yeah, all right. Well, I say we make good on this invitation, good people. Let us go into this day full of love, full of this place, full of what we create together. May we be sustained by it and lifted up until we see each other again.